From the very beginning of time, people have searched for a place where peace reigns, where life is whole, and where the soul feels completely at home. Across cultures and generations, stories have been told of hidden realms where harmony is unbroken and sorrow cannot enter. These places are spoken of as sacred, veiled from ordinary sight, yet never forgotten in the depths of the human heart. Every civilization has carried its own vision of such a paradise. In the ancient writings of the West, the Garden of Eden shines as the first home of humanity, a dwelling of innocence and unbroken communion with God. In the East, the mystery of Shambhala speaks of a radiant kingdom concealed among the mountains, where wisdom and justice remain untouched by corruption. Although these visions are shaped by different traditions, both echo the same longing for a homeland beyond decay. This universal search reveals something profound about human nature. We do not yearn for what is impossible or imaginary. We yearn for what is real and what has been lost. The ache for paradise reflects a memory planted deep within the human spirit, a memory that cannot be erased. Whether it is called Eden, Shambhala, or by another name, the hidden kingdom continues to call out, reminding us of the destiny for which humanity was created. The fascination with these sacred places is not only about mythology or history, it is about hope. They remind us that beyond the brokenness of the present world, there exists a reality untouched by sin, death, and despair. The search for Eden and Shambhala is ultimately the search for restoration, the return to a life of communion with the divine, and the unveiling of the peace humanity was always meant to know. These stories endure because they awaken something timeless in us. They remind us that the journey of life is not only about survival or success, but about seeking a kingdom that cannot be shaken. The longing for hidden realms is not escapism. It is the soul's recognition that it was created for more. Each generation retells the stories of Eden and Shambhala because deep down we know that they are not simply legends, but glimpses of eternal truth. If you find meaning and inspiration in exploring these hidden mysteries, I invite you to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss future journeys. Like this video if it speaks to your heart, and share your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear your perspective. Your support helps bring these messages to more people who, like you, are seeking light and truth. The story of Eden stands as one of the most powerful and enduring images of paradise in the human imagination. In the opening pages of the Hebrew Scriptures, the garden appears not as a distant legend, but as the very birthplace of humanity, filled with beauty, innocence, and divine presence. Trees heavy with fruit shaded its rivers, animals moved freely without fear, and harmony covered all things like a protective veil. At the heart of this sanctuary was communion, for God himself walked among creation, and the human spirit was whole. Eden was not simply a garden of delight, but a vision of the world as it was meant to be, unbroken and filled with the fragrance of holiness. Within the garden, every need was met, and every desire found its right place. The river that flowed from Eden divided into 4 streams, symbolizing abundance flowing out into the whole earth. Humanity was entrusted with stewardship, not exploitation, and was called to care for what had been entrusted. Eden was a place of trust, a covenant between Creator and creation, where freedom was honored but always bound together with love and responsibility. This delicate balance held the secret of life itself, for in Eden, humanity was not estranged from its maker, but lived in constant nearness to his presence. Yet the story also carries within it the shadow of choice. The garden contained trees that stood as signs of deeper truths. One offered eternal life, the other represented the knowledge of good and evil. To walk with God meant walking in trust, but to grasp at knowledge apart from him meant stepping outside the design of harmony. When the first humans chose to reach for autonomy rather than communion, the garden could no longer remain their dwelling. What had been given freely was lost through disobedience, and the gates of Eden closed. The flaming sword that barred the way symbolized the rupture of intimacy, a barrier not of cruelty but of consequence. Although expelled, humanity never erased the memory of Eden. The ache remained, carried like a wound in the human heart. Every longing for justice, every dream of a world without pain, and every cry against death echoes with the memory of a paradise once known. The loss did not erase the intention of God, for Eden is more than a place in the past. It is a symbol of divine will, a picture of how life was meant to be and how it will one day be restored. Even when humanity wandered far, the promise of Eden never vanished. Generations retold the story, not only as history, but as prophecy. Prophets spoke of a day when deserts would bloom, when wolves and lambs would rest together, and when tears would be wiped away. These visions were not inventions, but reflections of Eden, reminders that what was lost is destined to return. For this reason, Eden cannot be confined to the first pages of Scripture. It stretches across the whole narrative, from creation to the promise of renewal. The memory of Eden shaped not only the religious imagination, but also the moral conscience of humanity. To know that life once held perfect balance is to recognize that injustice and suffering are not natural, that they do not belong to the original design. The story of Eden teaches that brokenness is not the final word, for it carries within it the vision of restoration. This memory has stirred poets, saints, and visionaries who have sought to awaken others to the promise that the garden is not gone forever. Even the human experience of beauty carries a faint whisper of Eden. When a sunrise paints the sky with colors beyond description, or when silence in nature stirs the soul to reverence, people encounter a shadow of what once was. The garden is remembered not only through words on ancient pages, but through the very longing of the human heart. The presence of beauty and the hunger for harmony are traces of Eden, still alive, still calling. The exile from the garden was not the end of humanity's relationship with the divine, but the beginning of a pilgrimage. The story of Eden is the story of loss, but it is also the story of hope. It plants within every soul the desire for return, a desire that drives the search for hidden kingdoms, whether spoken of as Eden, Shambhala, or any other vision of paradise. Humanity walks forward, yet always with a gaze turned backward, remembering the garden and hoping for the day when its gates will once again open. Far from the deserts and rivers of the ancient Near East, high among the Himalayan mountains, legends speak of another hidden kingdom. Known as Shambhala, it is described as a radiant land untouched by decay, where wisdom reigns and truth is preserved for the healing of the world. For centuries, Tibetan lamas and mystics have spoken of Shambhala not as a fantasy, but as a real place, concealed from ordinary eyes, accessible only to those who are pure of heart and clear in spirit. Its name evokes light, harmony, and divine sovereignty, and it has drawn countless seekers to search for what lies beyond the visible world. In the teachings of Tibetan Buddhism, Shambhala is not simply a physical realm, but a center of higher wisdom. It is said to be ruled by enlightened kings, guardians of truth, who preserve the knowledge of the Dharma until the appointed time when it must be revealed for the salvation of all humanity. Unlike earthly rulers, these kings govern not with conquest, but with compassion, embodying the justice and harmony that human societies have always longed for, yet failed to establish. Shambhala is described as a model of divine order, a reflection of what governance looks like when it flows directly from the source of truth. The geography of Shambhala is as mysterious as its nature. Some traditions describe it as a hidden valley surrounded by snow-capped peaks, while others claim it exists in another dimension visible only when the inner eye has been opened. Travelers have told tales of wandering into valleys where time seemed to vanish and where light shimmered with otherworldly brilliance. These stories feed into the conviction that Shambhala is not simply a myth, but a reality concealed behind veils of perception. It is hidden not because it does not exist, but because humanity is not ready to enter it freely. The kingdom of Shambhala is also connected to prophecy. Tibetan texts foretell a future moment when Shambhala will emerge in full power. At that time, the rulers of Shambhala will lead forces of truth against the powers of darkness, restoring balance and ushering in a new age of peace. This expectation mirrors in striking ways the prophetic visions of the West, where a final battle between good and evil paves the way for a new heaven and new earth. Different traditions, yet the same underlying hope that the hidden kingdom will one day become visible, transforming the destiny of humanity. For those who hear its story, Shambhala becomes more than a legend. It becomes a symbol of humanity's highest aspirations. It stands for wisdom untainted by selfishness, governance untouched by corruption, and harmony between all living beings. The image of a radiant city in the mountains calls people to believe that truth is not lost, that purity is not forgotten, and that somewhere beyond the reach of ordinary sight, holiness is preserved. This conviction has given strength to generations who otherwise might despair at the brokenness of the world. Seekers of Shambhala have traveled great distances, enduring hardship, driven by the hope of finding even a glimpse of the kingdom. Some have returned claiming visions, others with silence, and still others with transformed hearts. The journey itself becomes part of the mystery, for in seeking Shambhala outwardly, many discover a transformation inwardly. The quest refines the seeker, reminding them that entrance is not achieved by walking across mountains, but by walking deeper into the truth of one's own soul. The fascination with Shambhala has also spread far beyond the borders of Tibet. Writers, philosophers, and mystics across the world have embraced its image, seeing in it a universal symbol of hidden truth and unshakable hope. It joins the chorus of sacred stories that proclaim that paradise is not lost, only veiled. Whether one speaks of Eden or Shambhala, the longing is the same: to find the place where the divine order is fully alive, where the presence of God is unclouded, and where humanity can dwell in peace. Shambhala reminds us that the hidden kingdoms of God are not confined to one culture or tradition. Just as Eden speaks to the west of a lost paradise, Shambhala speaks to the east of a hidden kingdom of light. Together, they echo the same eternal truth: that beyond the shadows of human history, there remains a realm where truth reigns, preserved until the appointed time. When people hear of Eden or Shambhala, a question naturally arises: why do such places remain hidden? If they exist, why are they not plainly seen, open to every eye that seeks them? The mystery of hidden kingdoms is not simply about geography, but about the nature of the divine. Holiness cannot be approached lightly, for it requires purity, reverence, and readiness. The veil that conceals these realms is not a wall of stone, but a spiritual boundary that separates the ordinary from the sacred. The story of Eden illustrates this clearly. After the fall, humanity was no longer able to walk in unbroken communion with God. The flaming sword that guarded the way was not a punishment of cruelty, but a recognition that sin had altered the relationship between humanity and holiness. The veil was mercy, for to approach holiness without purity would consume rather than bless. In this sense, the hiddenness of Eden is not rejection, but protection, a sign that the sacred is preserved until humanity can once again be restored. The traditions of Shambhala tell a similar story. The kingdom is said to be hidden from ordinary eyes because not all are prepared to behold it. Only those who are purified, Those whose hearts have been freed from greed and deceit may approach its gates. To see Shambhala is to see with more than physical eyes. It is to see with clarity of spirit. The veil remains for the sake of wisdom, for if such power and truth were exposed to the unready, it could be misused and distorted. The concealment of Shambhala, like the concealment of Eden, is an act of divine wisdom. Throughout history, mystics and visionaries have spoken of veils between worlds. They describe realities that exist alongside our own, separated not by distance, but by perception. To the ordinary eye, only the physical world is visible, but to the awakened soul, glimmers of the hidden kingdom shine through. These experiences suggest that the barrier is not in the realms themselves, but in the blindness of human perception. The veil hides because humanity is not yet fully prepared to see. The condition of the human heart plays a central role in this mystery. Sacred traditions across cultures affirm that purity is the key to vision. Pride, selfishness, and sin cloud perception, while humility, love, and faith open the way. Hidden kingdoms are not revealed by cleverness or force, but by transformation. The gate to Eden and Shambhala is not locked from the outside. It is closed within the human heart, waiting to be opened through spiritual awakening. The very hiddenness of these kingdoms teaches a lesson. It calls humanity to seek, to hunger, and to grow. If Eden were simply visible on a map, it would be taken for granted, reduced to curiosity or conquest. If Shambhala could be reached by ordinary travel, it would become another place of tourism, stripped of its sacredness. By remaining veiled, these kingdoms preserve their sanctity and invite seekers into transformation. The hiddenness ensures that only those who truly long for truth, who are willing to be changed, can approach them. Even in Scripture, the language of veils is present. The temple veil in Jerusalem symbolized the barrier between humanity and the presence of God. Only through sacrifice and purification could the high priest enter once a year. The tearing of that veil at the crucifixion became a sign that access to God was being restored. In the same way, the hidden kingdoms remind us that what is now concealed will not remain so forever. The veil is temporary, awaiting the moment of restoration. This mystery of concealment unites Eden and Shambhala. Though separated by culture and geography, both declare that the holiest realities are hidden, not because they are unreal, but because they are too real for the unready to bear. Their concealment is not absence, but preservation, holding the truth in safety until the time comes for revelation. The longing for hidden kingdoms is not confined to the stories of Eden and Shambhala. Across cultures, myths, and sacred traditions carry echoes of the same hope. In the Celtic imagination, the island of Avalon was spoken of as a land of healing, shrouded in mists, where death could be undone and wounds made whole. In the Christian vision, the New Jerusalem descends from heaven as a city of light, where God dwells among his people and sorrow is no more. These stories, though separated by continents and languages, reflect the same truth. Humanity longs for a homeland beyond corruption. Among the Norse, tales spoke of Asgard, the dwelling of the gods, shining in the heavens and connected to earth by the Rainbow Bridge. Among the indigenous peoples of the Americas, stories were told of sacred lands guarded by spirits, accessible only to those who honored creation with reverence. Even in distant Asia, beyond the Tibetan stories of Shambhala, Chinese traditions told of the Isles of the Immortals, lands where time stood still and life was preserved. Though details differ, the melody is the same. Hidden realms of peace and immortality, preserved from the decay of the world. These echoes cannot be dismissed as coincidence. They speak to something deep and universal within the human soul. Across the span of history, without contact or communication, cultures have dreamed of the same reality. The longing for a hidden kingdom, a paradise untouched by sin and death, seems written into the fabric of human existence. It suggests that humanity carries within itself a memory, however faint, of what was once known and what is destined to return. The universality of these stories also reflects the character of God, who plants seeds of truth across the world. While revelation takes different forms, the heart of the message remains constant. Creation was made for communion with the divine, and this communion has not been lost forever. Eden speaks to this truth in the language of the Bible. Shambhala speaks to it in the teachings of the East. Avalon whispers it in Celtic myth, and the New Jerusalem proclaims it in prophecy. Each voice adds depth to the chorus, testifying to the same eternal hope. Even secular stories, stripped of explicit reference to the divine, often mirror the same pattern. Tales of hidden utopias, golden ages, or lands beyond the horizon speak to the same yearning. The human imagination cannot escape the pull of paradise. Whether told as legend, myth, or sacred vision, the story of hidden kingdoms continues to resurface generation after generation. It is as if humanity cannot stop dreaming of return, for the memory of Eden and the promise of Shambhala are etched too deeply in the soul. These echoes also serve as bridges between cultures. They reveal that the longing for paradise is not bound to one people or one tradition, but belongs to all. It invites dialogue, reminding us that beneath the surface differences of myth and religion lies a common cry for restoration. The image of hidden kingdoms becomes a meeting ground where the human family recognizes its shared hope. The persistence of these traditions also challenges skepticism. If the idea of hidden kingdoms were only a fantasy, it would be strange to find it repeated with such consistency across time and space. Instead, its repetition suggests that it reflects something real, something that transcends human invention. Myths may take on different forms, but they point to realities that lie beyond what the eye can see. The consistency of the longing testifies to the truth of the hidden kingdoms, preserved by God in ways that surpass human understanding. By tracing these echoes across the world, one begins to see Eden and Shambhala not as isolated tales, but as part of a universal story. They are expressions of the same eternal truth, that humanity was made for more than the brokenness of this world, and that a homeland of holiness still awaits. These hidden kingdoms are not inventions of imagination, but revelations of memory and prophecy, whispered through the ages in every tongue. When people dream of entering Eden or discovering Shambhala, they often imagine distant lands hidden behind mountains or beyond oceans. Yet the wisdom preserved across traditions insists that the journey to these kingdoms is not measured in miles, but in the condition of the soul. The gate that opens into the hidden realms is not a stone doorway or a secret map, but the path of the pure heart. Purity in this sense does not mean flawlessness or perfection achieved by human strength. It speaks of a heart that turns toward God, a heart that seeks truth above self-interest, a heart that allows love to cleanse pride and forgiveness to heal bitterness. Such a heart becomes a vessel through which light can shine, and in that light, the veils begin to thin. What was once unseen becomes glimpsed, and what was once distant feels near. The teachings of Jesus echo this truth when he declares, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." The promise of vision is tied directly to the condition of the heart. Similarly, Tibetan wisdom speaks of the gates of Shambhala opening only to those who embody compassion and wisdom. Across different lands and languages, the message is the same. Entry into the hidden kingdoms is a spiritual reality, not a geographical discovery. Humility is central to this path. A heart weighed down by pride cannot see clearly. Pride clouds perception, turning vision inward until all that is seen is the self. But humility opens the eyes to the grandeur of God and the beauty of His creation. It frees the soul from the illusions of power and control, preparing it for the wonder of a kingdom where God's order reigns. Another key is love. Love softens the soul, dismantling walls of fear and hostility. A heart that loves does not seek to grasp or conquer, but to give and to bless. In such love, the fragrance of Eden is already present. For Eden was a garden of communion, and Shambhala is described as a kingdom where harmony binds all beings. Love is not merely preparation for the hidden kingdoms, it is a foretaste of them. Forgiveness also plays a vital role. To carry resentment is to carry weight, and a burdened heart cannot rise to glimpse the divine. Forgiveness, difficult though it may be, releases the soul into freedom. It clears the vision, for bitterness blinds, but forgiveness opens. Many who walk the inner journey testify that it is in forgiving others, and even forgiving themselves, that they sense the first glimpses of peace beyond ordinary experience. Prayer and meditation act as disciplines that nurture the pure heart. They are not techniques for escaping the world, but ways of aligning with divine reality. In the stillness of prayer, the noise of the world grows quiet, and the soul learns to hear the whispers of eternity. In the practice of meditation, the restless mind finds focus, and the heart becomes attuned to what lies beyond sight. Through these practices, seekers are prepared for the vision of hidden kingdoms. The path of the pure heart is not reserved for a select few, but is open to all who desire it. Every act of humility, every choice of love over selfishness, every step of forgiveness, every moment of prayer draws the soul closer to Eden and Shambhala. The hidden kingdoms are not reached by maps, but by transformation. And every soul that walks this path already begins to carry within it the light of paradise. Among the most profound words ever spoken are those of Jesus when he declared, "The kingdom of God is within you." With these words, he shifted the search for paradise from distant lands to the depths of the human soul. The message was clear. The presence of God's kingdom is not something merely awaited in the future, nor hidden only in far-off places. It is alive within, accessible through communion with the divine spirit. The image of Eden helps illuminate this truth. Eden was not only a physical garden, it was also a state of being, a harmony between humanity and God, between creation and its source. Though the physical garden was lost, the essence of Eden was not extinguished. The human heart carries within it the memory and possibility of Eden restored. When Jesus spoke of the kingdom within, he was pointing to this inner reality, a place where paradise can be experienced even now through faith and prayer. Communion with God brings glimpses of this inner Eden. In prayer, the soul finds refreshment like rivers flowing through the garden. In worship, the heart is lifted as though standing once again before the tree of life. In love and forgiveness, the fragrance of paradise fills the spirit. These are not distant promises, but present experiences that testify that Eden has never fully vanished. It remains hidden within, waiting to be awakened. The teachings of Jesus also emphasize transformation. The kingdom within does not come through observation or outward signs, but through inner renewal. This means that one may walk in the world outwardly surrounded by brokenness, yet inwardly dwell in the peace of Eden. The world may be filled with strife, but the heart aligned with God's Spirit becomes a sanctuary where paradise is already alive. The idea of an inner kingdom resonates beyond Christianity. In Eastern traditions, meditation opens the way to inner realms of peace, described as radiant and unshaken by the storms of life. The wisdom of Shambhala also points inward, teaching that the path to its gates is walked through compassion and clarity of heart. Whether in the words of Christ or the teachings of the East, the message converges. Paradise begins within. This truth also reveals why not all can perceive the hidden kingdoms. If the kingdom is within, then blindness comes not from geography, but from the state of the soul. A heart hardened by selfishness cannot perceive the reality of Eden within, just as a mind clouded by greed cannot glimpse the gates of Shambhala. Vision requires inner openness, the willingness to let God's Spirit awaken what lies dormant. The presence of the inner kingdom gives strength to endure life's trials. Even when circumstances are harsh, those who have tasted the inner Eden carry peace that the world cannot shake. They walk with joy that does not depend on outward success, with hope that no sorrow can extinguish. This is the fruit of the kingdom within, a reality that begins in the heart but spills over into every part of life. To discover the kingdom within is to discover that paradise is not only a promise of the future, but a living reality now. It is to live with the conviction that Eden is not entirely lost, and that God's presence continues to dwell with humanity. The hidden kingdom shines first within the soul, and from there it spreads outward, transforming lives, communities, and the world itself. Sacred texts and mystical traditions speak of a time yet to come, when the veil that conceals the hidden kingdoms will be lifted. Eden will be restored, Shambhala will be revealed, and the fullness of God's dwelling will be established upon the earth. This vision points toward a future where what is now only glimpsed in spirit will become visible for all creation to behold. In the language of the Bible, this promise is described as the new heaven and the new earth. The prophet Isaiah envisioned a world where joy fills the land, where infants no longer die young, and where creation itself is renewed. The book of Revelation describes a city descending from heaven, radiant with light, where God lives among his people. These visions are not merely symbols. They are prophecies of restoration, affirming that what was lost in Eden will be restored in fullness. Tibetan prophecies surrounding Shambhala also speak of a coming age. They describe a time when the kingdom will no longer remain hidden. Its rulers will emerge, leading a final battle against the forces of ignorance and destruction. From this struggle will arise a new age of peace and wisdom, where the light of Shambhala will shine openly upon the earth. The similarity to the biblical vision is striking, as both traditions anticipate a final revelation of the hidden realm. This coming age is not only about cosmic transformation, but about fulfillment of divine intention. The hidden kingdoms exist not as refugees apart from the world, but as seeds of what the world itself is destined to become. Eden was not meant to remain a private garden, and Shambhala is not meant to remain a secret city. Both point toward a future where the whole earth becomes the dwelling place of God, filled with light, harmony, and truth. The unveiling of these kingdoms will bring healing to creation itself. The curse of decay and death will be broken, rivers will flow with life, and harmony will return between humanity and the natural world. This hope is not mere poetry, but the core promise of redemption. The restoration of Eden and the revelation of Shambhala are symbols of God's plan for the renewal of all things. Even now, signs of this coming age are glimpsed in the transformation of lives touched by God's Spirit. Every act of love, every moment of forgiveness, every glimpse of divine beauty is a foretaste of what is to come. The future age is not separate from the present. It is already breaking in, like dawn rising before the full light of day. The hidden kingdoms are not only promises of the future, but powers already shaping the world. This expectation gives purpose to human longing. The ache for paradise is not futile, it is prophecy written into the heart. The longing for Eden, the yearning for Shambhala, points forward to a reality that will one day be unveiled. The hope of the coming age is not wishful thinking, but a certainty grounded in divine promise. To speak of the future revelation of Eden and Shambhala is to speak of the destiny of humanity and creation itself. The hidden kingdoms are not myths to be abandoned, but realities awaiting their hour of unveiling. Their revelation will not simply mark an end, but the beginning of the eternal age, where God's dwelling is with His people and His light fills all things. Throughout history, there have been moments when the veil seemed to lift, granting glimpses of the hidden kingdoms. Prophets, saints, mystics, and seekers have testified to visions of paradise, encounters with radiant beings, or journeys into realms that defy earthly explanation. These experiences serve as signs, reminding humanity that the hidden kingdoms are not fantasy, but divine reality. In the Bible, visions abound. Ezekiel described a heavenly throne, surrounded by living creatures of fire and light. Isaiah saw the Lord high and lifted up, and the earth filled with His glory. The Apostle Paul spoke of being caught up into the third heaven, hearing words too wonderful to repeat. John, exiled on Patmos, saw the New Jerusalem descending radiant with God's presence. These were not dreams born of imagination, but encounters with divine reality that left lasting impact. In the East, stories of encounters with Shambhala have also endured. Travelers spoke of valleys filled with light, where time seemed to vanish and wisdom was imparted by mysterious figures. Some lamas claimed visions of the kingdom, describing radiant cities surrounded by snow-capped peaks. While skeptics dismissed these accounts, those who experienced them were transformed, returning with hearts aflame with hope. The lives of Christian mystics also carry similar testimonies. Saints spoke of entering states of prayer where the boundaries of earth seemed to dissolve and the presence of paradise flooded their souls. Some described gardens radiant with divine light, others cities shining with crystal beauty. These experiences, though differing in detail, resonate with the same truth, that Eden is not gone and Shambhala is not legend, but both are glimpsed by the awakened spirit. Such encounters often come unexpectedly, not as rewards for striving, but as gifts of grace. They remind humanity that the hidden kingdoms draw near not only at the end of history, but even now in moments of revelation. They break through the ordinary, offering glimpses of the extraordinary, encouraging faith and perseverance. Skeptics may dismiss these visions as imagination, yet the consistency of such testimonies across cultures and centuries suggests otherwise. When so many voices, separated by time and tradition, describe radiant realms of light and harmony, it points to a shared reality beyond personal invention. The echoes are too consistent, the experiences too transformative to be explained away. Encounters with the sacred realms also serve as reminders of responsibility. To glimpse paradise is to be called into deeper faithfulness, to live in a way that honors the vision received. Those who have tasted such experiences are often marked with renewed love, greater humility, and deeper longing for holiness. The visions are not given for curiosity, but for transformation. These signs and mysteries assure humanity that the hidden kingdoms are real, that their gates are not forever closed, and that God continues to reveal their reality in ways that encourage and strengthen. They are promises in miniature, glimpses of what will one day be fully revealed, signs that Eden and Shambhala are already pressing close to the world. The longing for Eden and Shambhala is not only about remembering the past or waiting for the future. It is about the journey of the soul here and now. Life itself is a pilgrimage, and each step, each choice, carries the soul closer to or farther from the hidden kingdoms. This journey is not measured by physical distance, but by growth in faith, love, and holiness. The image of pilgrimage is deeply rooted in sacred tradition. Abraham left his homeland, seeking the city whose builder is God. Israel journeyed through the wilderness toward a promised land. Early Christians described life as a sojourn, walking as strangers and pilgrims on the earth. Pilgrimage captures the essence of the human condition. Humanity is not yet home, but traveling toward it. Every trial and triumph becomes part of this pilgrimage. Suffering refines the soul, teaching endurance and trust. Joy reminds the pilgrim of the goodness of the homeland awaiting. Temptations test loyalty, while acts of love strengthen resolve. Each moment of life, whether celebrated or endured, becomes a step on the journey toward the hidden kingdoms. The path is not always clear, and many wander, distracted by the illusions of the world. Yet even in wandering, the longing for home persists. The ache for paradise pulls the soul forward, calling it back to the path. This inner compass, planted by God, ensures that no matter how far one strays, the way of return is always possible. Community also plays a vital role in the pilgrimage. No one walks alone. Just as Israel journeyed together, so too do souls encourage and guide one another. The songs of faith, the prayers of the faithful, and the examples of saints form a chorus that strengthens weary travelers. The journey toward Eden and Shambhala is personal, but it is also shared, for humanity as a whole is destined for the hidden kingdoms. The pilgrimage of the soul is also marked by hope. Hope is the light that guides through the shadows, the fire that warms in the cold, the compass that points toward home. Without hope, the journey falters. With hope, every step becomes bearable, for the traveler knows that the hidden kingdoms are not illusion, but destiny. The pilgrimage teaches that Eden and Shambhala are not simply waiting at the journey's end, but accompany the traveler along the way. Every glimpse of beauty, every act of love, every moment of communion with God is a foretaste of paradise. The hidden kingdoms are not only destinations, they are companions on the road, shaping the journey as much as they await its fulfillment. The soul's pilgrimage is the great adventure of life. It is a journey of faith, hope, and love, moving always toward the hidden kingdoms of God. Though veiled now, they shine as the true homeland, calling every soul forward with the promise that the gates will one day open wide. The stories of Eden and Shambhala inspire not only reflection, but transformation. If these hidden kingdoms are true, then they are not meant to remain as distant ideals or legends to be admired from afar. They are invitations to live differently now, to embody the life of paradise in the midst of a world still marked by brokenness. To live as a citizen of God's hidden kingdoms means to carry their light into the present moment, shaping daily life with the values of love, peace, and holiness. The first step in such living is recognizing that paradise is not only a future hope, but a present reality that can touch the heart. To awaken to the inner kingdom is to see the world with new eyes. It is to respond to hatred with forgiveness, to answer greed with generosity, and to confront despair with hope. Each act of goodness becomes a seed of Eden, each act of compassion a reflection of Shambhala's light. Though the kingdoms are hidden, they become visible through the lives of those who live in harmony with their truth. To live as a citizen of these kingdoms also means resisting the ways of corruption that dominate the world. The kingdoms of God are not built on exploitation, pride, or violence, but on humility, justice, and peace. Those who claim their citizenship learn to reject what dishonors God and embrace what reflects His presence. This is not always easy, for the world resists such transformation. Yet the very resistance reveals why hidden kingdoms are needed. They serve as anchors of truth when the world strays. The values of Eden and Shambhala are not abstract ideals, but concrete practices. When families cultivate love and forgiveness, they reflect Eden's communion. When communities strive for justice and care for the vulnerable, they echo Shambhala's governance of compassion. When individuals choose honesty over deceit, kindness over cruelty, generosity over selfishness, they embody the reality of paradise. These choices may seem small, yet together they become powerful testimonies that heaven is not only a place to come, but a reality that begins here and now. Living as a citizen of God's hidden kingdoms also shapes how one views suffering and challenge. Pain does not erase paradise. It sharpens the longing for it. Trials remind believers that this world is not the final homeland, and they keep alive the hope for restoration. At the same time, those who live as citizens of the hidden kingdoms respond to suffering not with despair, but with faith, offering comfort and hope to others as signs of the greater reality awaiting. Such citizenship is not earned but received as a gift. It is offered freely to all who open their hearts to God's Spirit. The invitation to live as a citizen of Eden and Shambhala is universal, transcending culture, language, and nation. Every soul is called into this reality, and every act of faith brings heaven closer to earth. The hidden kingdoms are not exclusive fortresses, but open invitations, calling humanity to live in the light of divine presence. The future revelation of Eden and Shambhala will be glorious, but their power is already at work. They shape lives, inspire hope, and transform communities even now. To live as a citizen of these kingdoms is to walk in anticipation of what is to come, while bringing its light into the present. In this way, paradise is not postponed, but begins to blossom wherever love, faith, and holiness are practiced. The message of the hidden kingdoms is simple yet profound. God's dwelling is with his people, and his kingdom is not distant. It is hidden for a time, but it is alive, pressing close, and inviting humanity to live in its light. Eden and Shambhala are not merely stories to be remembered, but realities to be lived, shaping every moment of life with the fragrance of eternity. The journey through Eden and Shambhala reminds us that humanity is not wandering without purpose. We are on a pilgrimage toward restoration, guided by memories of paradise and the promise of its return. These hidden kingdoms are not distant fantasies, but divine realities, calling us to live with hope, faith, and love even now. If this message has spoken to your heart, I encourage you to support this work. Subscribe to the channel so you can join us on future journeys into wisdom and faith, like this video, to help it reach others who may be searching for the same truth. Share your thoughts in the comments below, as your reflections may inspire and encourage others on their path. And please, share this video with your loved ones, so that together we may spread the light of God's hidden kingdoms to many hearts.